Thank you for the kind introduction. Sano and Yoshimura will be making this presentation under the title that has been introduced, and here is our agenda. Let me begin with our self-introduction. I am Sano from the Lab Company's Financial Crimes Prevention Center. My partner will be Yoshimura-san, who will be the next generation security technology laboratory. Now, about the phishing website we would like to discuss today, but let me begin with the definition of what phishing websites would be. The phishing website impersonates existing organizations to obtain individual information, personal information, like ID, password, credit card, and so forth. The number of phishing websites reported have been increasing since 2018. As of 2023, we have seen the largest number of reported websites. Now, the damages caused by the phishing websites are indicated on those graphs. For example, credit card stolen number fraud. In 2023, 50.47 billion yen of damage was reported. Also, the online banking transactions in 2023, fraudulent amount was 8.73 billion, with 5,578 cases reported, the largest number ever. By the way, the presentation material that you have received has a wrong number on the left-hand side of the scale. Sorry about that. Now, about that phishing after 2018, what has happened over the years? There are many components, but today we will be focusing on these items. Now, one thing that, or rather three things that I should point out. Number one is the changes in the targeted brands. Number two, changes in the URLs used. And number three would be the increased sophistication and speed of threat actors. Now, let's start with the changing targeted brands. And there are three characteristics. Number one, the major brands which continue to be the targets. The criminals would like to maximize their profit. Therefore, with great number of users with payment transactions would be a major motivation for the criminals to target megabanks, e-commerce sites, and credit card companies. Then there are some temporary events which could get the criminals focus on specific targets, especially when the social interest rises temporarily. Despite the temporary nature, large number of people can fall victim. In 2020 March, the government decided to pay subsidies under COVID-19, and the following month we saw some frauds. And then the Olympics, if you remember, in Tokyo Olympics, when the announcement of the reservation of tickets was made in May 2019, already the following month, the phishing was observed in fraudulent transactions. And then the third characteristic would be the services that can be newly targeted. Whatever the form of the business is, as long as the criminals can make money, they would target them. And then the URLs used for the phishing websites have also changed. Now, free SSL certificate services have brought about some changes. This graph starts from 2019, but it already started in 2017 because that certainly was a major turning point for the phishing website because of that free service that was launched. The service itself began in 2015, but since 2017, the service became available for just about everybody so that everyone can use HTTPS websites. And of course, that benefited general users and organizations, but also the threat actors. And then we have seen an increase in the random characters in the URLs. Well, what do I mean? Well, combo squatting and typo squatting to deceive users were the typical patterns in the past in the phishing website URLs. They looked similar to authentic URLs. But then we have seen a change to that to randomized characters instead of those deceiving names. Let me delve in with the next slide. And this shows the charts, which indicates that on the left, the monthly domain type disruptions, every month we see increases. And then on the right, you see the type distribution, the types of attacks. The yellow part is the combo squatting. The brand name is used in the URL. And as you can see, over time, that portion declined while the blue portion increased. And then the blue part and the orange part had declined. The red part increased, and the random portion indicate random character URLs. And this chart indicates the changes in the types of URLs to be used, probably because the URLs which are difficult to spot by companies are being used.
So as you have heard, criminals are actually devising increasingly sophisticated and rapid methods to outwit company-sized security measures, and I have listed some of them here. Criminals are shifting their targets to companies with limited experience in dealing with phishing attacks. And also, they are taking measures to delay detection and takedown. And the time to live of phishing sites are decreasing or becoming shorter, and we are seeing certain conditions helping to apply for assessing phishing sites. They're using their own domain, or they are also using email addresses and phone number authentication. So they are now looking to companies that have not been attacking before. And we are seeing increased cost in dealing with them as a result of sophistication, email abuse. Some brands that has nothing to do with the payment settlement are being targeted as well. In order to deal with them on a real-time basis, we have devised a tool to address that on a real-time basis. And I would like to invite my colleague, Yoshimura. Yoshimura would like to provide information. Sano has thus talked about how there's more move to HTTPS, TTL becoming shorter, and they were targeting brand names. So those are the three things that were important in the trends of phishing sites. And in order to address them, this is the system we have put together. SSL certificate that's needed for HTTPS. Issuance is now the trigger, and we have put together this system. How we are going about doing this, to the left top, where there is a company Merkle map, which actually issues certificates, and from that API goes to domain to, and subdomains are acquired from that. And in the red box in the middle, we move on to the flow of detecting phishing sites, which comprises basically of two flows. One, suspicious domains are detected. So that's the first method used. And for that, for example, whether random characters are there or combo squatting and other squatting are used. So those are the very simple, quick filtering of suspicious domains. And then we will move on to the next flow where whitelisting is used to see whether the suspicious domains are really malicious. So we will reconcile with the whitelisting to identify whether they are really the true phishing sites. Now, the rules we are applying to suspicious domain extraction. We have rules 1 and 2. Rule 1 is to look at whether the domain contains random characters. Number 2, how close that is to whitelisted domains. Rule 1. We have this sorting system which is trained on English vocabulary. So randomness is actually confirmed using that approach. Number 2, the rule 2 actually comprises of two methods. One is typo squatting, just one character different, or number two characters. In order to deal with that kind of changes made, Jarrow-Winkler distance is used to assess. For combo squatting, for example, if it's lac, it's instead of lac.co, it says lac.co. In other words, additional strings of characters are attached to real existing domain names, and we look at that. So partial match search is used. Now, we are not using AI currently. We only use rules 1 and 2. I'm sure many people question why we're not using AI. Doesn't AI provide higher accuracy? There are three basic reasons why we are not using AI now. Number one, the amount of domains are so many. 1 in 80 millisecond, which is 12 per second. This is how domain is updated. We need real-time processing to handle that many. Now, of course, we can have 10. We can throw 10 of them to ChatGPT, or maybe we can introduce local. But those could be responses. But using rules 1 and 2 provided sufficient and very high accuracy for detection. And as I list as the number third reason why we are not using AI. By not using AI, we can more freely change a threshold for detection sensitivity. We can increase to identify more meaningless random. What if this is a typo squatting? Then we can change that to only 1 or 2 characters instead of more. So that, I believe, is another reason why we should not use AI, at least now. But that said, I would like to list two reasons why there could be false positives. Number one, for random string, there were domains using random, which are legit. If you go to the site, and this is a real site, and although it includes random character strings, that doesn't mean that they are phishing site. And then the other is typo squatting and combo squatting detection. There could be very similar case. Cobra.com was one example. This is very close to a company Kojima, which is a real company which was very close, and that also led to false positives. So false positives are possible, and we have to understand that they exist. How can we then actually identify real malicious phishing domains? And the idea we have come up with is to reconcile or reference whitelist. Whitelist has brand names and screenshots. And for newly issued domains, titles and screenshots can be obtained. And to reference that, even when there are different domains, the contents or appearance could be very, very similar. And based on the logic at that precisely because of that similarity, these are phishing sites that are targeting that company. Now, we were planning to do system demo, but some sensitive information was included. So this is going to be uploaded uh, for you to look at separately. Now, some of the examples of true detection can be provided. One phishing site that was like a certain real news site was detected. And from that, these were the flows that happened. Clicking one, for example, if you click once, a robotic authentication, this is something that's really familiar now. It says click this to activate, but the certificate in this case was accurate, and the command attached was a targeting window, and for URL was GitHub referencing. And if you actually look at the GitHub, on the 4th of January, this was created, and when we were actually looking at this on the 8th, it had already been deleted. There were four repository. One was the robotic verification, which include that, and the other was the exe was stored, and the other was .mp4, which drops repository, and what was contained in that. And we have used virus total. This is power.gen. A dropper PowerShell command was included in one. The other had the stealer type exe file. So from the news site, the stealer is downloaded instantaneously. And the target, the victim, this was a very malicious phishing site causing damage instantly to the victims. Let me summarize. Number one, the phishing attackers are constantly evolving at a high pace. We security companies are trying to address that, but in order to, what we are seeing evolution to evade our anti-phishing measures. And we are also seeing that by coming up with a table, the attackers' trends are also changing too. Companies or those pages that do not have login could become target as phishing site. And so we have devised a system that which we have presented to you. And to detect newly published site and also expected to shorten time to take down. As future challenges I am listening to, what we have learned through Operation 1 is HTTPS, SFL certificate issuance was the trigger. But when there's, in some cases, if they are dealing with this very rapidly, we could not. With shortened URLs, if that's used, there were cases where domain checks cannot be performed. So how we are going to deal with that? We must continue to improve upon detection of phishing site and also come up with ways of addressing that. The samples, the data, is going to be provided through JSAC Slack. We are also providing email addresses. Please let us know if there are any questions. Thank you very much.